So this is a special meeting of the Housing Committee, Wednesday, May 18th, 2016, room 1060, City Hall, 2 p.m. I'm going to open this up for general public comment. Dispense with this before I'm joined by Councilmember Felipe Fuentes, and we are awaiting Councilmembers Huizar, Councilmember Price, Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson. For public comment, Patricia McAllister. One minute.
Thank you. In this meeting, we're talking about tax-exempt affordable housing bonds, and a lot of people don't know what that is. So for people who are listening online, we're talking about multifamily housing revenue bonds, and they're issued by governmental authority, which may be the city or the county or the housing authority. Now, the issuing authority serves as a mere avenue, and its own funds are not pledged to the repayment of the bonds, nor are the bonds backed or secured by the general credit of taxing power of the local government or any other revenue sources. So rather, the bonds are payable from funds provided by the developer of the project and any credit enhancement the development may provide, such as personal corporate guarantees, bond insurance, or a letter of credit. The project itself would also secure the bonds either directly through a deed to secure debt for the benefit of the bondholders or indirectly as security. So multifamily housing, this is what we're talking about today. They can be sold in private placements such as by a bank or a group or participating banks.
Thank you. Can I move the agenda pending quorum?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can start with, would you like me to read item 1 and 2?
Item 1 and 2, please.
So item 1, Los Angeles Housing Community Investment Department report relative to the issuance of tax-exempt multifamily revenue bonds in the amount of $7 million to help finance the development of the E. Victor Villa apartments. Item 2 is a Hcid report relative to the issuance of tax-exempt multifamily bonds in the amount of $18.5 million to help finance the 127th Street apartments.
Okay. I want to move those on consent. Mr. Fuentes?
Do we need a quorum to move it?
They would be a communication from the chair until a quorum is present. Yeah.
Okay. Objection?
Nope.
Okay. Let's move to item 4.
Item 4 is an Hcid report relative to the reprogramming of 40th year emergency solutions grant funds.
I'm prepared to move that to consent pending quorum.
Mr. Chair, would you like to go to item 3?
Sure.
Item 3 is a Hcid report relative to the replacement housing plan for the Panorama Hotel apartments.
Okay.
Panama Hotel, excuse me.
Yes. Can we get the department to come up? Tell us about the great news.
The replacement housing plan is for the.
Your name, please?
Oh, I'm Tim Elliott, housing manager at Hcid. So this replacement housing plan is for the conversion of the Panama Hotel into a supportive housing complex. It's currently 228 rooms. It's been boarded up for several years, and the owner, SRO Housing, is going to downsize that into 71 units of permanent supportive housing with complete apartments. And there's a net loss of 25% of the units, and then 100 units will be replaced by SRO in a planned complex on Hartford Street in the Central City West area. And that is scheduled to be financed next year. We guaranteed a acquisition loan for them, so they have it under control, and it's in our pipeline. So that should come online, within the required time. So we've already closed the financing on the Panama, and there's so pending the approval of this plan to start construction.
Ed Gibson, Housing Community Investment Department. Panama is a tough project with the conversion of some of the units. We're basically combining units, but the goal here is to increase permanent supportive housing,
Right.
to make those units actually feasible by joining them together. So we have large enough units that actually have bathrooms and kitchenettes in them. And with this project going forward, that we will have be increasing the supply across the board.
Yep.
Inside permanent supportive housing. So it had a lot of jumps. This replacement housing plan has many elements to it. Units in the downtown central core area are under multiple jurisdictions, from residential hotel ordinance to Wiggins. And so this agreement, which is the replacement housing plan, has gone through us, and it's gone through the CRA, who has the final approval authority over any Wiggins type action. So with that, this project can move forward with these approvals.
Great. And the replacement, the 100 units will be nearby?
Yes, it'll be just west of the Harbor Freeway, a little bit north of 7th Street, on Hartford Street. So that's a planned project that we have. That'll also be a supportive housing project.
Okay.
All replacement housing has to be within a certain jurisdiction around from where the units are lost, so that there is a correlation to the lost units to maintain a certain level in the area. So we will put them back.
Okay. Mr. Fuentes?
Move it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Mr. Chair, would your action be to adopt the HCID report for item 3?
I was just going to say that.
That takes us to,
council.
would you like to go to item 5, Mr. Chair?
Please.
Item 5 is the HCID report relative to the second amendment to the contract with Paragon Partners for tenant relocation assistance services.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Council Member. My name is Jennifer Tang, and I am from... Sorry.
Excuse me.
Please don't interrupt the meeting.
Please do
don't
not interrupt the meeting.
I can hear, miss. Please don't interrupt the meeting.
Do not interrupt the meeting.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Tang, and I'm from the Office of the CAO. Our office requests authorization for Hcid to execute a second amendment to a contract with Paragon Partners for 12 months from May 1st, 2016 through April 30th, 2017 to continue providing tenant relocation assistance services. This amendment is subject to the review and approval of the city attorney as to form and legality and compliance with the city's contracting requirements. There is no impact to the general fund. The proposed second amendment will be supported entirely by fees paid by landlords for no-fault evictions. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Okay. Mr. Fuentes?
Move it.
Great. Thank you. All right, so we're adopting the CAO report. We're going to send that to council.
Mr. Chair, that takes us to item number 6. Item 6, City Attorney Report and Ordinance amending various provisions of the Municipal Code Tenant Relocation Assistance Program.
Yes. Can we get the city attorney's office up to give us a report?
Good afternoon. My name is Mei Chang. I'm a Deputy City Attorney for the Housing Department. Basically, I'm just here to discuss a few recommended amendments to LAMC Section 163, which is the Tenant Relocation Assistance Program, which offers tenant relocation assistance in the event a building is red tagged by housing, LADBS, or fire because of fire life safety issues. The two most significant changes are as follows. Number one is we wanted to expand the existing definition of order to vacate to include court orders because in criminal abatement matters, currently there's no method to give a vacated tenants who are not involved in criminal activity relocation. So we wanted to broaden that scope to allow them to receive relocation as well. And we also wanted to expand the definition of landlord. Right now, our definition limits the definition to someone who is entitled to receive rent, but we want to expand that to include just owners and lessors and sublessors, so it's broader. And that's also consistent with the California Health and Safety Code. The rest of the amendments are very minor. They're technical amendments, basically to ensure that our LAMC is as close to the California Health and Safety Code as possible. Again, just changes in terminology, and that's basically it. Nothing major for the technical amendments, and those are the only ones.
Mr. Fuentes?
Move the report as amended.
Thank you.
Are there amendments?
Yeah, there are amendments.
Other than what's already on, I'm sorry, John White, City Clerk. Other than what's already on the ordinance, there's no further amendments?
There's no further.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I meant as the.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got on item 6, public comment from Patricia McAllister. 1 minute.
Item 6, the city attorney report and ordinance amending various provisions of section 163.00, the Los Angeles Tenant Relocation Assistance Program. I saw the budget for this, and I don't see any verification, and I have talked to people and investigated this. People are not getting relocation assistance money. Whose pocket that money is going in, I don't know. People are thrown on the street, and there are things you can ride around and see furniture on the street. I have talked to people who got nothing to relocate. So this is a scam. We want to know I will file a Freedom of Information. I want to know who's getting the money and where it's going, because I think you got almost $1 million, if maybe less, in this program fund, and you're not doing a darn thing with it, probably using it as a petty cash for your pockets.
Jennifer Ganado.
I'm representing Intercity Law Center. We just had some general comments to the ordinance since we're looking at Section 163 of the LA Municipal Code. In regards to permanent relocation, if there are issues in which the landlord actually has created the circumstances for the red tagging, what Intercity Law Center was concerned about is whether tenants have the right to re-enter if there's any work that's been done on the buildings that have been red tagged. Because in the way that it's written, it's only stating permanent relocation. And so we wanted to know if there's a possibility, if there's an option for temporary relocation versus permanent relocation, so people aren't losing their homes. The second part is, I think in 163.02D, I think there are some amendments within that section, and we're looking at it. It states that that if the landlord hasn't caused the issues with the red tagging, but then the tenant is still being impacted, there's no necessity to provide relocation. The city is under its own discretion to go ahead and do that. And that's a thing that we're wondering if there's a way to clarify that in terms of triggering if there is a tenant that does need relocation. And I only have one more point, though.
Go ahead.
The last one being, I think it's 163.03C. In any order to pay relocation assistance shall advise the landlord of the appeals process by which the landlord may challenge the determination of the enforcement agency. This doesn't seem clear to us, and if there's a way that the city attorney can look and clarify if there's an enforcement agency that does provide the relocation assistance and then the landlord does appeal, is the tenant supposed to pay back that money, or what happens to the relocation assistance in that instance? So we're just asking for some clarity, because there isn't a mechanism that states as to what happens to relocation in the event the landlord appeals.
Right. So we had 2 instances where the landlord is at fault or culpable, and then 1 instance where the landlord appeals.
Right.
So those are your main concerns.
So our main concern is if the landlord appeals, what happens to that money and the need for the relocation assistance? Who pays out to the relocation assistance?
Right.
And we're just to kind of clarify so that the landlord doesn't use the appeal as a to delay payment.
All right, good questions. And we'll reconcile that with the CA and make sure that those questions are addressed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're joined by Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson. And we are, once you join us, we want to adopt the ordinance first and move that to council. Motion?
Second.
Any objections? Okay. So we're going to reconsider 1 and 2 so that Mr.
Actually, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
You have speakers cards for 1 and 4, so you'll need to call the speaker up as you reconsider them.
My error, sorry. Yes, we're going to reconsider item 1, Patricia McAllister.
Okay, now, the issuance of these tax-exempt multifamily revenue bonds, you got one here for $7 million to refinance in the development of Victor Villa Apartments, 46-unit housing at 555 West 92nd Street. First of all, I see no criteria here for making sure that illegal aliens don't get into these affordable units. Also, these units, these companies who are getting these bonds, they're getting tax credits. Okay, so we must make sure that they follow the correct provisions. I have known of them to throw people out after 6 months. After they get them in there and all that, then they kick them out. Okay, so we must make sure that doesn't happen. Now, people ask, how do illegal aliens get in there? Well, when a woman busts through the nation and break in here and have a baby, once she dumps that baby, she gets welfare, housing, and everything else that Americans get. So her children are illegals, they don't give birth certificates, and we're going to kick them out of this country when Trump gets in office.
We need to reconsider this item?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we move to reconsider item 1 and 2, and
Approving the CO reports, Councilmember.
it was on consent. Adopt the CAO report.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Dawson, you good with that? Good. Okay. Last comment, Patricia McAllister, item number 4.
Okay, number 4, this money is going to LASA. For people who don't know, that's the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority. They get money from the city. Now, LASA gets a lot of complaints because they bring people in and make these people who are homeless and on welfare give them their money. And they give them their money and tell them, if you give us so much money, we'll help you get an apartment, an affordable unit. Well, we've had people who've been living there 10 years. They've got thousands upon thousands of money, dollars sitting there, and they haven't found them any housing, and I believe they can even be poisoned or killed because these shelters they don't give that money back. So that's dangerous to have people living in a shelter for 10 years, working, giving up their money. Also, in this particular shelter here that's in Los Angeles, we need to investigate them. The Path at 3804 Broadway Place, Los Angeles. The women have to sleep with the workers in order to get the apartment first, and we need to stop that. But we need to look into this money business because this is not a money business. It's a temporary shelter.
So we're going to reconsider items 3 through 5. Mr. Marquis, so you can
Good, thank you.
concur. That concludes our agenda for the day.
And
Thank
approve.
everybody.
You moved to approve them, right?
Move to approve, yes.
Thank you.
And motion to adjourn. Any objections? Thank you, everybody. Good day.